Now I got the son bitch, and I got him with his fly open.
We do it together, Roger?
Sorry, I don't want to get married.
I spent an ungodly amount of time watching one of my favorite movies, Smokey and the Bandit, frame by frame. And let me tell you, when Burt Reynolds' laugh takes 4 times as long to finish, it really gives you space to contemplate your place in the universe. But between the existential crisis, I actually found some incredible stuff. The movie is absolutely riddled with continuity goofs, and some popular ones are well documented. But today we are not here for that low-hanging fruit. We're going deeper. We're talking about the details that even the most diehard fans scroll right past. The blink and you miss them Easter eggs that would go on to reshape an entire genre of television. So hop in and buckle up with us at Cinebuster. We're going eastbound and down. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and now, lights, camera, action. Let's look at the opening wager sequence we've all seen a million times. Big Enos and Little Enos Burdette have just tracked down legendary trucker Bo Bandit Darville at a truck rodeo and laid out the impossible challenge. Haul 400 cases of Coors Banquet beer from Texarkana to Atlanta, Georgia in 28 hours flat. The money's on the table, the stakes are high. Burt Reynolds' mustache is doing what it does. Everyone in the scene is locked in on the bet.
Get out of this dumbass rodeo and accept a real challenge.
And there in the background, standing around like he absolutely belongs there, is a young boy with a white and power blue visor and wearing a Coors Banquet beer shirt. Think about that, the entire premise of this movie, and here's this kid in the opening minutes just casually repping the brand before the bet is even official. A huge Easter egg painted in yellow belly gold. Also quite ironic since the scene is in Georgia, where again you can't legally sell Coors, so hard to believe this is just a coincidence. And for a kid who definitely looks underage, unless he has a baby face. This is also part goof because he walks behind Bo twice before he gets the cash advance from the Burdettes, or at the very least is walking very slowly from the camera panning back and forth. But when you catch it at quarter speed, you can't unsee it. A subtle precursor to everything that's about to unfold. Some people call it an accident. I call it a Southern prophecy. Okay, this is one for the diehards. Over the epic chatter and trucker lingo, you can see what's unique about the movie cars. There are actually 3 distinct CB radio models featured in Smokey and the Bandit, and the placement of each is very deliberate. In the Bandit's Trans Am, the hero car setup featured the Pace CB166, a vintage 23-channel AM unit that was manufactured in Japan and was considered a solid mid-tier radio for its era. It only had 23 channels because at that time the FCC only permitted 23 channels on civilian CB radios. The modern 40-channel era hadn't quite arrived yet. That Pace CB166 is paired with a Pace 10 4U police scanner mounted directly above it, giving Bandit his all-important heads up on what the Smokies were plotting. Snowman's Kenworth was equipped with the Pace CB145, a slightly different model that you can see Jerry Reed working on throughout the film. Meanwhile, the 3 primary stunt Trans Ams used for the bulk of filming were actually equipped with a Pace CB144, mounted lower on the dash. Less flashy, harder to see, but it's there if you know where to look. So, who had one of these 3 models on their ride back in the day? I want to know. Let me know in the comments below. These vintage radio models, specifically the Pace 166, are insanely sought after by fans trying to put together a movie-correct Trans Am build. There's a reason they command serious money online. A couple of years back, a Pace 166 signed by Burt Reynolds himself sold for 10 grand at auction. Unreal. People are paying serious money for what is, objectively speaking, an outdated 1970s 23-channel CB radio, compared to a modern one with 40 channels for $50 to $60. All because Burt Reynolds had one in a movie, and honestly, I completely respect it. He takes his antenna off for one thing, and one thing only: messing with your head. But no, seriously, the Bandit CB antenna has a serious identity crisis throughout the film. It appears and disappears more than my motivation on a Monday morning. Though, let's be honest, I have zero. At full speed, you're too caught up in the action to notice. At 25 speed, it's undeniable. One shot, antenna's there, proud and tall, catching the Georgia sun. Next shot, completely gone, vanished into thin air like it had somewhere better to be. The true explanation is that they were working with multiple Transams across different filming days. Some rigged for stunts, some for close-up hero footage, not all of them consistently equipped. In 1977, nobody thought a lunatic with a laptop and a slow-motion button was going to audit their continuity decades later. Joke's on them. This detail is genuinely one of the coolest rabbit holes I fell into during this deep dive. Several scenes in Smokey and the Bandit, most notably the Texarkana sequence where the boys load up the beer, were actually filmed in Jonesboro, Georgia. Jonesboro was a go-to filming location for the production, and Main Street in particular got some serious screen time throughout the movie. It's an art studio now and a popular fan destination. Any of you guys been there? Okay, I digress. Now, if that street looks familiar for a completely different reason, here's why. That is the same Main Street in Jonesboro, Georgia that appears on the cover of Lynyrd Skynyrd's iconic 1973 debut album, dubbed their band name. They had been recording at Studio One up in Doraville, Georgia, and after a long day of album cover photography in the summer heat, the final shot of the session, the one that ended up being the cover, was taken right there on Main Street, Jonesboro. The photo was chosen in part because of the dramatic lightning bolt appearing to strike directly through the late guitarist Ed King. Ed himself reportedly noted it looked like it was hitting him right in the head. They also shot promo photos just down the block from the same Main Street location. I guess if you count the lightning bolts on Leon Wilkinson's sweatshirt, there are 4 bolts. I'm assuming there's another out of view on his left sleeve, but I digress. So, 3 years before Smokey and the Bandit rolled cameras on that street, the original band was on site in their finest bell bottoms. Gonna take a pit stop to remind you to like and subscribe. I have another Smokey and the Bandit video in the works, and I'll drop it early if we get 500 likes. Just need you to hit that little button. Now, back to the video. Since we're already in the final act, let me throw you a find from the ending at the Lakeview Fairgrounds. Look very carefully at one of the Atlanta patrol cars parked near the entrance forming the blockade. The one on the right, look at the grille and bumper of the Ford Custom. And to me, the gaps in shape of the pointed bumper are uneven. That car is already wrecked, although it's no secret cars were reused for these stunts. Not that it would have looked any prettier after facing off with a snowman's Kenworth hauling 400 cases of Colorado's finest brew. Also, when the snowman knocks over a fence to get to the finish line, these two guys are either deaf or got a death wish. If you can't hear a screaming diesel on a Kenworth W900 going at least 50 to 60 miles per hour until it's right up on you, natural selection is bound to catch up to you at some point. Yes, it's acting, but at a quarter speed, their reaction is way too delayed to unsee. Alright, here it is, the detail that genuinely made my jaw drop when I put all the pieces together. There are not 1, not 2, but 3 future stars of the Dukes of Hazzard hidden in the crowd scenes near the end of Smokey and the Bandit. All uncredited, all unbilled, all operating in full stealth mode. Let's go through them. First, there is a trucker next to a redhead that seems like a familiar face hiding in plain sight. At regular speed, he's another face in the crowd. At quarter speed, you have time to actually look at the faces and spot none other than Ben Jones, who plays Cooter. Second, Sonny Schroyer, who would become beloved as Deputy Enos Strait on Dukes of Hazzard, appears here as a motorcycle cop, which is absolutely perfect. The man couldn't escape law enforcement even when he was just trying to get a walk-on credit. Another questionable detail about that scene, most patrolmen would have seen Snowman's freshly bruised eye and question where the hell that shiner came from. Pun intended. Get it? Shiner Brock? Coors Banquet? Okay, I'll see myself out.
Bruh.
Again, I know Hal Needham didn't prioritize logic in this movie. And third, the wild card according to fan accounts and entertainment lore, he made his way to the set and blended into the crowd, operating on the universal 1970s backstage principle of, if you look like you belong, nobody's gonna stop you. Whether he sweet-talked his way past security or simply walked on with enough confidence to pull it off, the story goes that he snuck onto the production, instantly was befriended by Gleason, and got himself into the final cut of one of the biggest movies of the year. That cowboy is none other than John Schneider. 2 years later, he'd be Bo Duke, raising hell in a second-gen Charger, and hauling contraband of his own. To add to the wow factor, years later, Burt Reynolds would go on to play Boss Hogg in the 2005 Dukes of Hazzard movie remake. At this point, Smokey and the Bandit and the Dukes of Hazzard aren't just connected. They're quite literally the same cinematic universe. Same Georgia roads, same Southern spirit, same complete disregard for the red, white, and blue lights. The legend of the most popular TV show of that era started right here in the background of a crowd scene in 1977. In closing, I want to give a shout out to the original quarter speed YouTuber, The Canadian Lad, for inspiring my shot at this quarter speed series. Also, special thanks to the cast and crew members for this cinematic work of art, defying every budget, mechanical, and time obstacle in their way. Rest in peace to those who are no longer with us, and long live the ones who still are. Let me know if there are any other small details you noticed, or if you learned something new today. Subscribe so you don't miss my next video. See you next time.